Welcome to another episode of Follow the Brand TV. I am your host, Grant McGaugh, CEO of 5-Star BDM, a 5-star personal brand and business development company. I want to take you on a journey through another deep dive into the world of personal branding and business development using compelling personal stories, business conversations, and tips to improve your brand. By listening to the Follow the Brand TV series, you will differentiate yourself from the competition and build trust with prospective clients and employers. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. Make it one that will set you apart, build confidence, and reflect who you are. Building your 5-star personal brand is a great way to improve your skills and knowledge. If you have any questions for me or any of my guests, please email me at grant.mcgaugh@5starbdm.com. Now, let's begin with our next episode on the Follow the Brand TV.
Five-Star BDM, Brand Development Masters, is a professional consulting and advisory group keenly focused on business development services for the small to mid-sized business and entrepreneurs. Although every business is unique, they often share business development challenges that can be addressed through smart branding. Services include process improvement and operations, digital strategy and transformation, business intelligence, digital marketing, and personal branding. Our business and personal branding company has helped a number of professionals and organizations to optimize and grow. This results in more business, more opportunities, better reach, positive outcomes. Visit www.5starbdm.com today to learn more.
Well, Grant, I'm happy to share. I've got an unusual background for a healthcare executive, and I started off as an engineer. You mentioned Midwest. I spent my early years in Detroit with Chrysler Corporation. So I was an auto engineer, and I'm not sure you're going to find too many of those in the C-suite. So it was really developing those relationships. And as folks try to progress from early career to mid-career, from mid-career to the executive suite, it's those relationships. Of course, it's this delivery. You got to deliver. You got to hit those metrics. But forming those productive relationships. And there's so many ways of doing that.
Welcome, everybody, to Follow Brand Podcast. This is Grant McGaugh, and we're going to go to Chicago, of all places, the Windy City. But what I learned today is that not only are we talking about the Windy City, we're talking about the nation's capital as well, Washington, D.C., the birthplace of Herb Buchanan. He's the current chair of the National Association of Health Services Executives, right? And he's also the current or former CEO in Advent Health in the Naperville area. And we're going to talk about that because he has a storied history over time in the C-suite leadership position and it looks to me like all over the Midwest he has served, as well on the East Coast. I'm very, very impressed with his background. We're going to have a candid conversation about himself, about senior leadership, and how he sees the landscape going forward. So, Herb, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, sure, Grant. I'm excited about being here. As you mentioned, I serve NAHSC, which is a mouthful. You said the whole organization. I appreciate that as chair. Most recently, I was an executive in another long name, University of Chicago Medicine, Advent Health, Great Lakes Region, which is a fancy way of saying a partnership between University of Chicago Medicine and Advent Health. And this is the Advent Health headquartered in Orlando, Florida. And so we've got a 4 hospital system that combined with University of Chicago's main campus downtown and then a campus on the south side of Chicago. And that partnership formed about 2 years ago. So most recently, I held a number of senior executive roles, including, as you mentioned, CEO of Bolingbrook Hospital, Chief Operating Officer for the region, interim CEO of the region, lead for strategy and integration. So a lot of transition. That's my most recent role. That partnership is still going well, but I left that organization earlier this year.
This is going to be a great discussion because what's top of mind for me is leadership and leadership pipeline, specifically in healthcare and hospital operations and IDNs and the like. You have the purview and the experience of looking over all of those different things and have lived it. You have a lived experience. I think that's wonderful. The first question I want to ask you, though, is around your history. How
Mm-hmm.
you got into this business, and what prepared you to be able to operate at such a high level over this amount of time?
Well, Grant, I'm happy to share. I've got an unusual background for a healthcare executive, and I started off as an engineer. You mentioned Midwest. I spent my early years in Detroit with Chrysler Corporation. So I was an auto engineer, and I'm not sure you're going to find too many of those in the C-suite. But I spent years there, and then 3 things got me interested in healthcare. One was a desire to contribute to the service industry. I was always into cars. Cars were fun, but they weren't making a big contribution to the community. And healthcare provided that opportunity. I just did not have a healthcare background. So in order to get into the business, I went to graduate school, Northwestern University, that had a healthcare program and tried to learn as much about healthcare as I could. What attracted me, Grant, was healthcare has had many, many seasons of struggling. At that point, it was revenues, it was payment systems. And I had the idea that some innovation, some creativity, some problem solving techniques would be useful in healthcare. And I could somehow do some catch up on the pure healthcare knowledge because I didn't know anything about healthcare. I didn't have a clinical background, but I wanted to contribute to the industry. Thought it was a wonderful time to bring some engineering approaches, some problem solving, some different kinds of thinking. I hoped to be a fast learner in the business. And then finally, the program I went to, the MBA program, was team oriented. And I believed that a team oriented approach to leadership was one that was going to be successful. To work with surgeons, to work with academic folks, to work with nurses, techs, all of those people, you really need in healthcare a team approach as much as anywhere else. And so we focused so much on team in all of our instructions and all of our case studies that provided an excellent background. So my belief was an engineering background, a team-oriented approach to leadership, having healthcare training on the academic side at least, and an MBA would be something that I could use in this industry to advance.
Let's talk about that. I've got a lot of people that come to me and say, Grant, I've got my MBA, I've got my education, but I'm having trouble breaking into the field, or I'm having trouble getting to that next level. I'm in management, but I'm not in the directorship, or I'm trying to get into that VP level, all those different things to ascend. As you look at your career, what what were the pivotal moments? What have you leveraged? What has been, on your side that got you what I call, like, we talked about football earlier, got you that first down. It got you that first win. And you're like, wow, I think I can be successful doing that. That would be also something that could be beneficial to someone else listening to this show.
Well, Grant, you know this well. You can get all the training and all the education you want until you get in and start developing productive relationships, you're not going to be successful. And so it was really that ability to form relationships. And my first job out of the MBA program was consulting. And I got to go to a variety of hospitals, community hospitals, academic centers. I got to talk to physicians, and physicians will challenge you. Nurses will challenge you. The first time you go into an OR and they said, you're not an MD. How long have you worked in a hospital? And you say, well, I haven't. They'll challenge you on everything. Well, how do you know the OR needs to be this big? How do you know about sterile techniques? And your response is, I don't. What I know is how to listen and how to develop relationships and how to translate your expertise into planning, operations, strategy, management engineering, you name it. So it was really developing those relationships. And as folks try to progress from early career to mid-career, from mid-career to the executive suite, it's those relationships. Of course, it's this delivery. You got to deliver. You got to hit those metrics, but forming those productive relationships. And there's so many ways of doing that. There's internal, where you look for opportunities within your scope of interest, and outside of your scope of interest is volunteering for things outside of your formal responsibilities. It's having mentors and sponsors and organizations that will say, oh, we know Grant. He helped us to achieve this. He helped us to achieve that. He's fun to work with. He gets things done. He's organized. He's structured. Those kind of relationships will ascend. Formal and informal conversations. You and I both know that when you're outside of the room, that's when many of those conversations are happening. So if someone is thinking about you, you want those people in the room to say, oh, I highly recommend. I had a good experience. Talk to so-and-so. They will tell you that this is going to be a good move for you. So you and I both have talked to folks who have struggled a little bit. How do I get to the next? It's really about relationship. It's about delivery. It's about knowing who is making those decisions, who the movers and shakers are, taking opportunities to work with them, to be on committees with them and demonstrate your worth, looking for opportunities that aren't comfortable for you, showing that you're willing to grow and that you can adapt, all of those things. Mentors and sponsors can be tremendous help in that regard. And so I talk to a lot of people who have hit that maybe that hurdle or just slowed down a little bit and are trying to get kick-started. And typically the same solutions work. Who's in your corner? What are the opportunities in your organization? What haven't you done? What do you need to do to fill out your resume? Who do you need to impress? In some cases, it may even be changing the organization, but what can you do in your current place to impress folks? People are looking for problem solvers. When you make yourself a problem solver, you're attractive to the C-suite.
Well stated. Well stated. And the one word that comes to me as you just stated that, and we're going to talk about your other big passion, which is the National Association of Health Service Executives, where you serve as the chair, is gravitas.
Mm-hmm.
When I've met with you and I've been with you, there's a feeling of gravitas and great humility and then great depth. That's what I feel when I'm in your presence. And we've talked about this association. A lot of people, some people aren't even aware still today of the National Association of Health Service Executives. Been around 50 plus years, but some of the most prominent African American healthcare executives have been a part or still a part of this organization. It's very, very important. And I've taken up as my purpose to make sure that awareness is not a problem. It's just a matter of now you want to consider being a part of it, or you see what you said even earlier. What does it accomplish? What is its purpose? What is it doing? Talk to us about the organization and how you feel that it's going to move forward.
It's not about becoming an expert. It's about doing things the right way and being effective in your role. And so you can be the smartest person and you can know everything about heart care. You can know everything about oncology. You can know everything about surgery. You can know everything about primary care, but you may not be effective in your job. And so for me, it's a balance of understanding the nuances and the key expertise for your job, but also understanding how, as a leader, because we're leaders, we're not a doc, we're not a respiratory therapist, we're not a nurse, we're not bedside care. We're actually looking at holistically the enterprise or the organization you're part of, and making sure that we're, one, living out the mission of the organization, but then two, executing on the strategic planning of the organization to make sure we're still viable as an organization.
Brand yourself. You are your own ambassador. Make connections. Find yourself to be valuable not only as a mentee, but as a mentor. Create that network so that you can have a system, a network of individuals where you can bounce ideas off of and just share from a creative perspective your thoughts on how to make this industry better. And that's what it really takes to get to the next level, is really connecting your passion with your purpose, and understanding your why.
Well, I think it starts with the want, right? People who want to grow, people who want to be developed, people who want to be coached, and is open to taking on that additional function and additional task. Because the last thing you want to do is put somebody in a position that they don't want to be in, right? I think that's a recipe for failure. So we're looking for, I love the term hungry, humble, and smart. Those are the type of people that I want to look for, that they're hungry enough that they want more, they want to grow, they want to develop, to be developed. They're raising their hand saying, hey, I want that next position. Allow me the opportunity to grow and stretch myself. Smart enough that sometimes they're willing to take on tasks that they may not have experience with, right? But they're smart enough to do the work and quickly become leaders in that area, subject matter experts, or more importantly, smart enough to put the people around them who could speak to it and know and be the expert in the room.
I'm glad you asked that, Grant. And I've got a mouthful, so you tell me when to pump the brakes a little bit. But the things that you started off with, gravitas, presence, reputation, all of those things, many of those are the result of my experiences with the National Association of Health Services Executives. Early in my career, I met Kevin Lofton, who was one of the biggest names in the business, did the largest faith-based merger in healthcare history. He's been a mentor of mine for almost 30 years. He introduced me to NAHSE and all of the elements that you mentioned. If you are looking to strengthen any of those, you can find it within the organization. The goals of the organization, of course, are to advance people with diverse backgrounds into leadership executive roles, to expand their careers, and to address health equity issues. And there's been track record, years and years of success. I've been fortunate to have developed the things that you witnessed and that you observed by looking at the leaders in the organization who have been there for decades and decades and have given back to the organization. They've sponsored, they've mentored, they've taught, they've in the educational conference, they've done segments to teach people how to do everything from mergers and acquisitions to revenue cycle, you name it, the gamut. They've expanded to include entrepreneurs. So the organization is about helping folks give back, achieve health equity, and advance their careers, and everything from graduate school case competition, which brings graduate students in, gives them opportunities, teaches them problem-solving skills, exposes them to executives, to mid-career folks who can expand their skills, find mentors, find opportunities. The organization also helps folks find opportunities. Search firms are part of the organization, all the way up to Elevate, which is a unique organization brought together by senior system executives to help the next level or the next phase of executives ascend to senior system level positions. So all the things that you mentioned that folks are looking for are somehow available, connected to partnering with NAHSE. And I tell folks, when I tell them about the organization, that a large part of my mentoring, a large part of my advice, a large part of my opportunities, my friends in the industry have come from this organization. Certainly there's AHA, there's ACHE, and we want to be inclusive. But for this organization, their values align with values that many of us have. And the people there have a family type atmosphere where they're willing to give. And for folks who are struggling to find a senior executive who's willing to invest in them, if you can't find it in this organization, Grant, I don't know where you're going to find it, because it's just that kind of atmosphere. So I became chair because of years and years of contributing to the organization, but also because people developed a trust in me to get things done, to organize, to plan for the future, from years and years of them pouring into me, of me demonstrating, of me pouring into young folks, of judging the student case competition for 20 years. All of those elements are part and parcel. And if this begins to sound like a commercial for the organization, well, it is, because it has done so much for me and for so many others, and will continue to do so. And it's an important priority for me.
100%. Love what you just stated. And it's important, especially, I love the case competition, because that's when you're seeing people, what you talked about earlier. You're in engineering, then you got into your MBA, and then you started getting some healthcare experience to be able to go on that track of going into healthcare leadership at some point in time. But that starts at the collegiate level, and that the organization has tapped large schools, the Ohio States of the world, the Big Ten, the Big Four, the Power Four, all that, but also HBCUs.
Exactly.
You know, that they're not only just participating, they're actually placing and being considered for top honors within the program. So they're competing with the best of the best. And then the winners of those programs get to meet with senior executives of very large institutions like Kaiser Permanente, that you're invited out. Going back to what you also said earlier about relationships. How can you, it's called speed to market, right? How can you accelerate your career in any other way, but then being in the same room with these senior leaders who know who you are and then can advocate for you? I love how you stated that. It's so important. I want to change the conversation just a little bit. I want to address what I call as the elephant in the room. Say, what is that? Now we say health equity. We've said diversity in inclusion and equity, or I don't know if I put it in the right sequence, but DE&I. We go all the way back to affirmative action. I mean, these things have always kind of cropped up. They ebb and they flow. I want you to talk to those younger people. We just talked about, they're like, hey, we're getting out, we're getting our experiences, but hey, am I going to be, not getting an opportunity because of my culture or who I am? Talk to those people that have those questions.
It's a legitimate question and a challenge, Grant. And in many ways, as we reflect, we've come a long way. Yeah, you mentioned the organization's over 50 years old. When you look at some of the metrics where we started, the metrics from how many C-suite folks there are, how many CEOs of major systems, academic CEOs, you name those, we've come a long way. By the same token, we're struggling with many of the challenges that I was seeing when I got into this business more than 30 years ago. So it's a little bit of both. We've made advances. We've got folks in decision-making positions. We're fighting some of the same battles. And the reason why it's one of the main pillars for NAHSC is because health equity still has a long way to go, and it's facing challenges. And we won't get into a political discussion this morning, but clearly when you look at what's on the horizon, there could be additional challenges to health equity and our accomplishments. What the organization is focused on is partnering with sponsors, with major organizations. You mentioned Kaiser, Ochsner Health, UPMC, to do things together. We're doing research with Morehouse School of Medicine. So we're trying to cover the whole landscape. Research, of course, drives decision making. So what's health equity research? And where are the largest gaps? How to address those? What are the successful ways of addressing those? So we've got a research arm. We also need to partner with organizations who have a broader scope, who frankly have more resources, who have the same mission and vision, and then enable our members to participate in that conversation, but also in action plans. Health equity is going to continue to be a challenge as long as organizations are still struggling with making it a priority with their board, a priority with their annual goals, priority with their C-suites, evaluating their C-suite members on how to advance those needs. We're well aware in general of the community needs. Where we struggle, of course, is effective solutions to address those. We'd like to be a clearinghouse. We'd like to be the place that AHA, ACHE, you name the organization, comes and says, one, where do we find information? Where do we find people who are interested in impacting this? And how do we partner? And we need to build on that. That's been our goal for some time. We need to get better and better at that. And developing partnerships will help us in that regard. But for young folks who are interested in health equity, you got to find out where your organization is, because many, as I've seen in the last few years, have stated it and haven't been serious about it. So don't get discouraged. That may not be the case. Some have made appropriate investments. Some need to do more. And then where in the industry can you find other opportunities? Certainly with our organization, we're working on that, possibly with an ACHE and others. But like-minded folks, it's always good to be around like-minded folks when you're trying to tackle a big problem, when you're trying to find solutions. I believe at every annual educational conference and probably our CEO suite, C-suite conversation as well, we have folks who come in and talk about health equity and what things they have done. So I certainly encourage folks to get involved with our organization and find out what the opportunities are. But in the field, back at home, it continues to be a challenge. And I can't name a whole lot of organizations that I would say are the benchmark for achieving. We've been talking about this for a long, long time. And when there are problems in healthcare that you're not making a significant dent in, it would indicate that they haven't been the level of priorities that we thought they were. And we have to impact that as well. So getting our folks on boards, getting them into the C-suite. You mentioned earlier, having that voice is so important. And that's what drives organizations. When Kevin and Lloyd put the Common Spirit merger together, health equity was on the agenda. When Gene and Skogsberg put Atrium Advocate together, health equity was on the agenda and a significant investment. That's how it gets done.
Well over 2 decades now. I've been in multiple spaces. I've had the luxury and privilege to pivot in multiple spaces in my life. As a professional, I started off in a very much entry-level role, working as a hospital transporter. But I've always believed in, just executing your best, and you never know who's watching you. You know what? How many other professionals are, stellar in their roles, but they are looking for other opportunities. But they're just, the gap is the skill, maybe the jargon, or not only the skills, but how to apply it, And I know that was a gap for me. You can be in really large institutions, but you can still feel unfulfilled in a lot of ways.
I think it's both exposure and experience. And you can't get the experience if you don't get the opportunity. So that's the key. But, it goes back to a couple of things. One, as I said earlier, well, several things. Let's put it this. So you have to sort of think through and be very intentional about what you want to do and what it takes. And then that means, obviously, to your point, you get your education and you get the credentials, et cetera. And what's next? So what next is, first, whatever role you're in at that point, make sure that you are doing the job. You're getting the job done. So performance is key, first of all, in whatever role you're in. And then secondly, and this is where we, as I said earlier when we were talking, it can't just be you. No one gets to the next step just by themselves. So it is about exposures. It is about having those mentors and those counselors and coaches and people who will mentor you and sponsor you. And sometimes that's what we, particularly people of color, we don't have a lot of times folks who are mentored or coached or have a sponsor. So you have to be open to creating those relationships that are key, both internally to wherever you are as well as external.
When people arrive in the CEO, CFO, C whatever O role, our biggest impact is helping the next generation. So if you can figure out a way to network, connect, create, and get your 5 to 10 minutes of FaceTime, they're happy to receive it. I'm happy to receive it. But make sure that what you have to say is impactful. So do your research. Because those 5 or 10 minutes that you're vying for, so are, hundreds of other people, literally. So make sure that you remember and know what you want to say in those 5, 10 minutes and make sure it's memorable. I exercised a little bit of that in my introduction.
Anecdotally, from the moment I got into this position, the number of women, Black women, Haitian women, Black men, who have just come and said, you made me believe this is possible. Now I can speak too. And it's not about just appeasing, but they see the move towards inclusion, the need, the move towards someone who can represent their voice.
That's how we have to do that. And I want to change the conversation just a little bit because this is so important, because these are what I call C-suite discussions. Talk to me as if I am the chairman of the board of a major health system and you are my CEO. And I'm going to ask you, what are the major challenges in healthcare as far as trends, topics, situations, challenges that I may not be aware of that I would ask you to address?
Oh my goodness, there's a long list. Certainly health equity, and we would assume that they're aware of that. They may not know the gravity or they may not know the lack of progress. So health equity, of course, comes up early on. Staffing is one, particularly for boards, Grant, that I don't think people really appreciate. All the projections for nurses, for techs, for physicians, for just about every position in our business, all the projections say that we're not going to have nearly enough resources to match the demand. And as more and more of baby boomers, Gen Xers age into the area where they need more health care, we're not going to have enough folks to provide the care. So whether it's nursing schools, medical schools, finding people just to provide services is a challenge today, and that's only going to get more difficult. And you have to stay ahead of that. So what are the strategies with schools, with communities? It's one of those challenges, Grant, where when you go to a city and you find a significant unemployment rate, and then you go to the healthcare sector and there's a significant deficit, and you're thinking, why isn't this coming together? and programs that start as early as grade school, middle school, that introduce folks to healthcare and tell them, if you're a nurse, you can find a job anywhere on the planet. You should never be unemployed as a nurse. Similarly for techs, physicians are opting out in many cases. It's a lot harder to deliver services than it used to be. So ensuring that we've got resources, I don't think boards have a full appreciation that this is a problem that has to be solved, and it has to be solved in partnerships with communities, with schools, with universities, graduate programs, as well as those. I would say continuity of leadership. The C-suite is turning over so rapidly. I think the average tenure for a CEO now is 3 years or less. Match that up with the benchmark in the industry. It takes a couple of years to learn a culture and really understand how to move it. Now, you can come in with your 100-day plan or your first 3 month, your first quarter plan or whatever. That's well and good. But to learn how an organization works, to develop board relationships, community relationships that are productive, it takes 2 years. So if your tenure on average is 3 years and it takes you 2 years to start making a mark, that's not a good plan. So for boards, continuity, and in some cases it's because boards and ownership and leadership is changing. In some cases it's people moving on. But stronger retention approaches to keep people on board. Anyone who has ever drafted and tried to execute a strategy, even outside of healthcare, knows you got to have a consistent team to get those. You can't hit the reset button every 18 months, every 2 years. So continuity of a team, organizations that have been successful, the Cleveland Clinics, the Mayo Clinics, Advent Health, have been able to get a cadre of leaders and hold on to them. So as they develop and refine their strategies, they have some consistency. Organizations, even the Fortune 100s, that have a new CEO every couple of years, their performance is like this because you have to reset, and people are going to follow the C-suite. Board is going to follow the C-suite. Competitors are going to pay attention to the C-suite. And if you're constantly having to reset, and the CEO doesn't want to come in and say, well, what did my predecessor do? Let's do that. Now, they're going to come in with their own agenda. And so asking the leaders in the organization to reset consistently is a significant problem. So again, I could go on and on about this, but there are things like medical records, use of artificial intelligence that really need to be figured out. They have tremendous potential. We have to figure out how to channel that into the most productive, because we need efficiencies. One of the retention issues I mentioned earlier can be addressed by efficiencies in the organization. So capacity for resources, in some cases capacity for beds and outpatient services. There's one I don't want to fail to mention, and that's competition. Yes. So many people, private equity is getting into the business, Walmart, Amazon, everybody wants to get into healthcare. Everybody doesn't understand the complexity of healthcare. And we've seen major organizations jump in, spend billions of dollars and get out because, this is tough. So yes, we knew that. So, but the competition, of course, makes it so much more difficult. And one of the reasons why you see so many hospitals joining systems is because of the competition. And to access resources or technology, they need the support of the bigger systems. But now we're just trying to figure that out. So we talked about a merger, Atrium and Advocate years ago. That's Carolina, Chicago, Wisconsin. Healthcare generally is thought of as local. So they've got to figure out a strategy to make that make sense. They can pool their resources to do technology, pool their resources to do supply chain, pool their resources to do health equity. How do you make those regions work as one, get best practices, et cetera, because there's an appetite for mergers. The mergers just have to make sense.
That is a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. It is a lot.
Especially as a board member, like, how do you compete? We talked about this earlier about, and it's an analogy that we pull together our plans. We're a good team, and we're going to face an opponent to win the game. Mm-hmm. And we've done our assessment. and we'll figure out, you know what, we can do this, this, and this, and we should, leverage our strengths against their weaknesses, and we'll be able to go ahead and score and score at will. That's the thinking, right?
Right, right.
However, you underestimate what's on the other side of the ball. You just mentioned about these major corporations, and they got into the healthcare realm, and they had a great plan. They were throwing a bunch of money around, and they got their butt kicked because they underestimated the true problems that were occurring within the system of healthcare. And it's not as easy as it looks. There's a lot of complexities. You've worked on the provider part of that world. Remember, there's payers involved.
Right.
There's government involved. There's all kinds of other things that you don't have complete control over that can then upset your strategy and your plan, and you get a different result. Very, very important. Before we get out of here, I want to ask you this. What's next for Herb Buchanan?
Excellent question. Excellent question. I may have undersold this a bit. I got into healthcare to change the industry. And as a young person, that seems like a reasonable goal. A person my age, maybe not so much, but I mentioned the things earlier that drove me there. I really got into reshape the industry for delivery. And I don't mean just delivery in the sense of going to the hospital, but all the aspects that you mentioned, making it all work. Healthcare has to work for the community. It has to work for the nation. So whether there are revenue issues, whether there are IT issues, whether doctors are getting along, healthcare has to be available to the community in ways that they can access it, in ways that they can improve the health. So I got in more than 30 years ago to reshape the industry. I will say candidly, I've not been successful in doing that, but I continue to look for ways of doing that. At this point, there's so many avenues open to you. The traditional route that I've taken, I did academic medicine for a while. I did leadership at the system level. You can continue to go that route, but there's so many other things. There's consulting, there's research, there are graduate programs who need training. There are more opportunities within NAHSC to contribute. So I don't want to be evasive with my answer. I certainly want to continue to impact the industry. I want to reshape whatever solutions need to be brought to bear, being innovative, being creative, and maybe most importantly, help train, develop, and advance the next level of leaders. I learned, fortunately, early in the career, it's important for the industry and for the various organizations to have that cadre of leaders. That helps with the continuity. It helps with accessing those resources. And so that's one of my main priorities. How do I continue to contribute? I can do it through NAHSC. I can hopefully do it through other organizations. I mentor a number of folks. But you can see from the gray beard, the gray hair, that I need to be focusing on making sure that next level of leaders is prepared and has every opportunity to succeed. I need them to do more than I've ever done in this business and advance. And you know as well as I do, there's nothing that makes you more proud than seeing someone you met or mentored or sponsored move up in the business beyond you. I used to tell folks early on, one day I'll be working for you. And of course, they laugh at you and say, you're being silly. But there's no prouder moment than to see someone ascend to a position where literally you could be looking to them for an opportunity. So I would say that's the most important thing to me, Grant, is to make sure that there are leaders who have an opportunity, that are trained, that have all the skills we talked about early, that have network, gravitas, team-oriented leadership, reputations, sponsors, people who are talking well of them, even when they're not in the room. That's the most important thing to me. And everything I've done so far has provided me with that opportunity. Once you have that credibility, then people come to you and they want to talk about, what did you do? How did you do it? How can I do it? I don't think there's anything I enjoy more than making that contribution.
Follow the Brand TV broadcast host, Grant McGaugh, as he visits with top executives and entrepreneurs to find out their secrets of success with their personal brand. Follow the Brand TV broadcast host as he focuses on brand development to build better relationships, bring value to your business, relationships, and career. You will enjoy listening to each episode that is tailored to speak to you directly. If you're looking for this type of clarity in terms of building your brand, you have tuned into the right station. Each episode will help you to shape a conversation in the 5-star BDM network of 20,000 professionals and become a springboard for your corporate engagement and business opportunities. Each guest will frame their story in the areas of personal branding, business development, career development, financial empowerment, and technology innovation. Grant McGaugh explains why he is the CEO and owner of his own professional career. Grant is an accomplished business leader and entrepreneur who wants to give back to individuals to grow their personal brand strategy. Tune in as he weaves his story about new possibilities, while to you exceed expectations. If you love storytelling, this show will make for fun.
Hello, leaders and visionaries. Are we ready to exceed our ambitious goals for 2024? At 5-Star BDM, we're your strategic partners, not just futurists. To the trailblazers in business development, healthcare, and IT, you need a path to realize your vision for growth. Our tailored consulting services are your stepping stones to success. We empower you to build brands, deliver results, and captivate audiences. In healthcare and IT, innovation is progress. At 5-Star BDM, we ensure your operations beat with precision, efficiency, and care. Join those who shape the future. Connect with us today. Let's set the stage for a defining quarter. With 5-Star BDM, it's not just business development, it's a beacon of excellence.
Exciting time to be in digital marketing with the advent, the explosion of generative AI chatbots. They're better known as ChatGPT. There's Bard, there's Claude, there's all kinds of this new one came out called Gemini. There's so many different tools that really what it comes down to is that it's made my business more precise. I can do things more quicker, I would say, and to elevate my brand messaging to a level that allows me to be as creative as possible. Digital market economy is taking the world by storm, probably over the last decade or so, but is really escalating now in the advent of AI because it is a game changer for a lot of businesses. It's not just all the big boys that can play in this space because of cloud computing, because of mobile computing, and now you have these tools at your disposal. You've got a laptop, you've got a computer, you can now digitize yourself to a level and get your message out there, and that equates to business. Well, you made a significant contribution through your tenure, what you've done as you look back on your journey. It's been wonderful. I thank you for being that person in the room when I wasn't in the room, and that you were helping to make the decisions that we can get better patient outcomes for our community. And we want to continue to have voices like that available to us in all the different boardrooms that are in America in healthcare. I have just one more quick question because
Sure.
it's on my mind. And because you're from DC and that you lived in Chicago, and you mentioned a little bit about Detroit, and I'm not sure if you're into college football or it's the NFL, but are you a Commanders fan? Are you a Bears fan? Are you a Lions fan? Talk to me about that.
Well, let's deviate just ever so slightly and say I'm a diehard Wolverine.
Oh, there we go.
And while this isn't a good year for us, we're on the heels, 2024 national championship. So we'll hang our hat on that. As far as professional football, this is a rough time to be a Bears fan. I always try to support the home team. I'm a big fan of the Commanders and what they're trying to do. Their new quarterback is dynamic, and I'm looking forward to seeing him in advance. My son is a diehard Commanders fan, so I'll go with the Commanders. Next year, our conference is in Pittsburgh, so a shout out to Pittsburgh. And I'm a big fan of Mike Tomlin, and hopefully we may get him to make an appearance. So I don't want to evade the answer. I'll certainly say I'm supporting the Commanders with their new approach, new quarterback, new coach, all of those things, and hoping that Caleb Williams and the Bears can turn things around.
Well, I'm just going to just tee off on that Steelers because I'm a big-time Steeler fan. That is my favorite team. I do have love for the Dolphins, but when it comes to NFL, I love the Steelers. And college football, I am from Omaha, Nebraska. A few people like that. I am still a diehard Cornhusker fan. I know we've fallen off the mark, but hey, we're back in the bowl game. We're on our way, baby. We're going to be there. We're going to compete in the Big Ten. Hopefully, play these Michigan Wolverines at some point in time. So, Herb, tell us how to contact you. What is the best possible way? And then we're going to wish you a happy holiday.
Sounds good. So two ways. I text a lot. And so I'll give, if that's okay, I can give my cell phone number, 312-890-8757, and also email. The email is hcbuchanan, Buchanan, 209 @icloud.com. And I enjoy communicating, so I'm always welcoming folks to reach out to me for personal questions, for organizational questions, for connections, whatever will benefit them.
I love it. I love it. And this is what I do. I've been doing this lately. I'm going to ask you this because it's real-time testimonials. How did you feel about the interview you just did on the Follow Brand Show?
I feel wonderful about it. First of all, the host is spectacular. He makes me feel like I'm on one of my favorite podcasts. I really enjoyed it. The questions are insightful. They're relevant to the audience. They get us going to talk about the things that we need to share with folks. So I enjoyed the podcast. I would do this over and over again. Even if we just talk sports, I would do this.
Well, we might have to do that definitely in 2025. I want to invite your entire audience and your entire family to tune in to all the episodes of Follow Brand. You can do so at the number 5. That's 5-star BDM. That's B for brand, D for development, and for masters.com. This has been wonderful, and I look forward to talking to you again, my friend.
Thanks a lot, Grant. Happy holidays to you. Enjoy, and go Cornhuskers.
Go Big Red. I love that.
Welcome to the Follow the Brand TV show, where Grant McGaugh unlocks the secrets of personal branding, business growth, and leadership with today's top industry leaders. Dive into a world of dynamic conversations and insightful exchanges that redefine success. Picture this: industry leaders and business professionals speaking on stage, interacting on video calls, and engaging in behind-the-scenes podcast setups. Grant McGaugh brings together the brightest minds, creating a space where laughter and deep conversations coexist.
Man, who's your favorite podcaster? Man, Grant, man. I love Grant's podcast. Well, who's Grant? I'm going to send you the link. I love
the interview. I've done a lot of these, and this is a great one. It's always great to talk to people who know what they're doing, and it's clear you're a great host, and you've done this many times before.
I feel great that we're having this conversation here. Met a new person in business who I previously didn't know.
It was an amazing podcast. Grant is an amazing interviewer. I learned a lot.
Really enjoyed this. Great questions, great talk track. Super appreciate you having me on. It's been a very fun episode to talk about a lot of things that I don't always get to dive into. So this has been a fantastic conversation.
I wouldn't be where I am here today, of course, not on this stage. However, not in my current business projection and my current business model without working with you.
At 5-Star BDM, we don't just elevate brands, we forge industry icons. Our mission is to amplify your business and personal brand through dynamic AI-enhanced strategies and an elite professional network of over 20,000 experts. We empower entrepreneurs and small to medium-sized businesses to lead, scale, and transform. Our powerful network accelerates your speed to market and connects you with unparalleled growth opportunities. If you're ready to lead, we'll position your brand to set the industry standard. Explore our comprehensive services designed to build your brand, drive growth, and innovate your business. From personal branding and business development to technology solutions and investment banking, we offer tailored strategies that deliver measurable results and help you dominate your market. Our personal branding service uniquely tailors your professional story. Starting at just $99 per project, we offer online courses, in-person workshops, and scheduled weekly calls. Perfect for individuals beginning their personal branding journey, we help you craft a legacy that commands attention and respect. Strategic plans and execution are at the heart of our business development services. We focus on sustainable growth, helping you secure funding, scale operations, and expand your market reach. Our expertise ensures your business thrives in competitive environments. Innovate with custom artificial intelligence, machine learning, and software solutions tailored to your needs. Our technology services are designed to enhance your business operations and drive efficiency, ensuring you stay ahead in the digital age.
Discover real stories and real results. From healthcare startups to tech entrepreneurs, our clients have achieved extraordinary success.
For instance, a healthcare brand transformation led to a 40% drop in patient infections, showcasing our impact in diverse industries.
Ready to build a 5-star brand that stands out and captivates? Discover the art of crafting a strong and memorable brand identity. From choosing the right colors to making your brand unforgettable on social media, we guide you every step of the way. Learn how to design a brand that resonates deeply with your audience, ensuring they not only remember but love your brand. Whether it's enhancing visual appeal or mastering social platforms, we have got you covered. Dive into the world of impactful branding with us and see the difference. Follow the brand for more insights and expert tips. Don't just be seen, be remembered. Join us now.
I'll go back to the part of what I was told. I was told that I wasn't good enough to go to college. So I would go back and say, don't listen to people that put limits and labels on me. Because there's something that a really smart guy taught me once. His name is Chaz Hartwig. I love Chaz. And he said, Daphne, there's this thing called thoughts, actions, and results. How you think will determine what you do. And whatever you do will create results, outcomes. So if you think that you can drive your car 100 miles on 50 miles worth of gas, then you'll try to do that. And then what'll happen is you'll run out of gas. So if you don't like the results you're getting, you got to change how you think.
Tune in for our next show or click on our website at www.5starbdm/followthebrandtv. Thank you.